The next in line is a very interesting and a core topic of the day. What to look for in a startup from an investor's perspective. And to moderate this session, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Manish Johri. He's SVP at Agility Ventures, an investor, strategic advisor, and a mentor with over 25 plus years of experience in startup ecosystem, regular speaker at industry events, and hold roles in iBanking and Lead Angels, MBA from University of Bombay and an ex-Mayo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Manish Johri. Mr. Johri, welcome, sir. Pleasure, sir. And in the panel, I would like to invite Miss Anjali Bhatia. Okay, Anjali is not with us here today. So I would like to invite next on stage CA Gaurav. He's a partner at PGSJ and Company Chartered Accountants. PGSJ is a startup-focused CA firm who works with and serve many VC funds such as Elevation Capital, 2AM VC, Sequoia Surge, and many other to name. PGSJ is a leader in a line of valuations, due diligence, and transaction advisory. Gaurav has earlier served Deloitte in transaction advisory division, and is now heading this division. Let's hear it for CA Gaurav, ladies and gentlemen. Next, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Karan Verma, co-founder and director, FAR Network Private Limited, a leading member-based investor network recognized for hand-holding early-stage startups. They invest across various sectors and geographies at an angel stage and co-invest at pre-series A stages as well. Mr. Karan Verma, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, sir. I would next like to invite on stage Mr. Prashant Narang, founder at Agility Ventures. Prashant Narang is a chartered accountant with more than 2 decades of experience in the field of finance. At Agility Ventures, he's working extensively on creating startups a preferred asset class for investors. By focusing on making startup investing process easier and enrolling more and more investors in contributing to the growth of promising startups, he's putting all efforts towards value creation for many people together. Mr. Prashant Narang, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not the least, I would like to invite on stage Professor Dhruv Nath, Director Lead Angels, formerly professor at MDI Gurgaon, author of The Dream Founder, and co-author of Funding Your Startup. Professor Dhruv Narang, ladies and gentlemen. Sure. So, I would also like to invite on stage Mr. Sarthak Bakshi, a healthcare CEO, investor, mentor, advisor, strategist, innovator, and a social worker, co-founder at Neo's Angels Network, and their which is the funding and mentorship program where startups at the early stages can be right contribution of guidance, capital, knowledge, and network with other passionate entrepreneurs. Mr. Sarthak Bakshi. All right. So, Kissa Kursi ka, let's have another chair and then have Mr. Sarthak Bakshi on stage. Right, and so I hand over the mic to you, sir. Thank you so much.
नहीं नहीं नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम जी
आप इधर बैठो उधर बैठो कहाँ बैठोगे
अच्छा आप उधर बैठो मैं खड़ा हूँ
मॉडरेट कर रहे हो ना
हाँ गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन लंच हो गया इतने सारे सेशंस हो गए अब थोड़ा नींद से जाग जाते हैं. Okay. Uh, Many of you are sitting here to possibly hear the panel over here, the investor lot. What exactly are they looking at? You know, इतने सारे आप सब लोग, you have your startup, your friend has a startup, your nephew may have a startup, your cousin may have a startup. Shark Tank सब देख रहे हैं और सब पेरेंट्स का आजकल ये सवाल है, ये नहीं है कि इंजीनियर बनेगा तो क्या बनेगा, स्टार्टअप कौन सा खोलेगा, कब खोलेगा. Okay, so we have very little time, I'm told, 20 minutes. 5-10 minutes इधर उधर खींच लेंगे. So I'll start. We have amongst us a very eminent and young professor, Professor Dhruv Nath, who's written a whole lot of books, but a very interesting one. If you've not read it, get a copy now, order it now. And the another one is also on this thing. Yeah. You need not have let it out, you know. वो फिर अब कम order आएंगे. Okay. So the book is basically funding your startups and other nightmares. Why other nightmares? Because starting up is a scary journey. Being a founder is not all glamorous. It is a tough job, and it's a roller coaster ride with more downs than ups. So Dhruv, what would you look for in a startup in 2 lines? What do you look for? First thing.
If it's 2 lines, I pass.
No, that's not allowed.
No, so he said
3
that.
lines, 3 lines.
No, he said that. You know, if the professor starts, you can't stop him.
Yeah, Manish, you made a mistake. You made me the first speaker.
Okay. So for everyone else, it's only one line then.
So what I'll do is, one of the things I believe in very strongly, and we at Lead Angel also believe in, and I'm sure everybody else on this panel does, it's very important to learn from success stories, but it's probably even more important to learn from failures. So I'll take an example of a company that came to us, a startup that came to us, looking for funding, but we refused to give them funding, and I'll try and explain why. Right? Manish, can I? Yeah?
Sure.
तेरी
You are
commission-
allowed, sir,
नहीं तो
professor.
तेरी commission कट जाएगी.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
Manish is an old friend, he can't stop me. So this is an interesting story which Manish is aware of. It's about a wedding gift registry. Now some of you would not be familiar with this concept, so I'll explain what it is. If you look at weddings, there are many problems in weddings, but I don't want to talk about those problems. I want to talk about the problem of wedding gifts. See what happens in wedding gifts. Let's say I'm getting married. Manish is a friend, he'll give me a gift and it'll be a useless gift, absolutely useless, right? So what do? सबसे पहले मैं उसको गाली दूंगा. Then what do? Hang on yaar, Karan is getting married. Okay, pass the gift on to him. What does Karan do? मेरे को गाली देगा. After which he is, hang on yaar, Prashant is getting married. उसको दो. So this is a cyclical industry. Gift traveling in one direction, galis traveling in the other direction. Right? An absolutely useless gift. It's like Diwali gifts, right? So in the West, US, Western Europe, UK and so on, there is a very good concept. It's called a wedding gift registry. And let me explain what that means. It's basically an e-commerce site. And this e-commerce site does not sell atta, dal, jam, bread and so on. They sell only wedding gift items, typical wedding gift items like, coffee mugs, tea sets, cutlery sets, linen, bed sheets, etc., etc. So what happens is the e-commerce site has all these options. The couple that is getting married, which during our time used to be boy and girl, but now, God knows. So the couple goes to the site, right, and selects out of all these items, look, this is what we want, and they create their wish list, right? That wish list has a URL. So when they send the e-card or the WhatsApp card to their guests, that has a link. When you click on that link, you reach the wish list. So therefore, the guest knows what the couple wanted and therefore can select out of that and buy. Works very, very well in the US, and we had a very strong team actually coming to us and asking for funding. there were three problems in India. Problem number one, cultural issue. I'll just imagine, I'll give you a typical conversation between a mother and a daughter who's getting married, or it could also be a father and son, but mother and daughter. तू पागल है? तू क्या कर रही है? You're demanding a gift. What is the next statement? सारी बिरादरी में
नाक कटवाएगा.
यार तेरे को कहानी पता, चुप. So, you know, that's the whole problem. In the US, in Western Europe, it is completely acceptable to ask for a gift. Here, you can expect it, you can't demand it. Right? There is a fundamental cultural problem. So that's issue number one. Which means, in very simple terms, you cannot transplant something which is there in the West and assume it will work over here. You have to talk to your customer. Right? Number two, guests would go to the site and say, okay, wonderful, I figured out what Manish wants for his wedding. Wonderful, I'm going to give him these coffee mugs. But hang on, Amazon पे जाके देखते शायद सस्ता होगा. And absolutely सस्ता था. Why? Because Amazon is into huge volumes, right? Which this site is not. So ultimately this site became purely a listing site, a discovery site, zero revenues, right? No revenue model, right? That is problem number two. Problem number three, what is to prevent Amazon from getting into this business? In fact, they already have gotten a few years ago. And you know, the whole fundamental issue is never get into a business where you have a giant of a potential competitor. Never. You'll be killed. You can't compete with Byju's, you can't compete with Mukesh Ambani, you can't compete with Amazon, right? Three fundamental issues because of which we said no. I stop here.
Very well said. And so, like as Professor said, two sets of founders we stay away from. One, so when we ask the question, who's your competition? If one set says, sir, I don't have any competition, out you go. Another says, sir, Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon is my competition, out you go. You should know who's your competition. That is the kind of founder whom we would like to fund.
Who your competitor is and who your potential competitor is.
Exactly.
Maybe not today, but tomorrow.
Exactly. So, so this is of which kind of people not to fund, right? Sarthak, which kind of founder would you really fund? I'm like, what is the first thing that you look at? Mic change, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Hi, good evening everyone. I think this question is something that is very common these days. Just to tell that there is no right answer for this. Everybody has their own USP, you know. किसी की team बहुत अच्छी है, people are IITians or IIMs, which is a standout point. The other thing is the technology behind, the product is so beautiful. For example, TikTok, IG Reels and something. I mean, the tech behind the algo is so amazing that the product has to be a hit. Or the third thing is it an instant scale for me? You know, I am a traditional businessman. I've invested into 30, 40 companies. But from a traditional business, what is the difference for me? Just to give a head from a scale point of view, I need to open, say I'm into healthcare. If I have to open a hospital, it's a crore rupee project, crores of rupees, hundreds of crores of project, finding a site, challenging enough, regulatory, hassle. So many challenges are there for me to scale from 1 to 10. The difference between a normal business and a startup is that there is a Byju app, there is a Zomato app, there is an Uber app, there is an XYZ app. You know, there's a funny thing ki Zomato, when it got listed at a crazy valuation of 1 lakh crore rupees पे. Zomato के सारे ड्राइवर जो हैं वो हीरो की बाइक चलाते हैं. जितनी Zomato के राइडर बढ़ते उतनी हीरो की बाइक्स बढ़ती है, बट हीरो की वैल्यूएशन आज सिर्फ 30,000 करोड़ है और Zomato की वैल्यूएशन 1 लाख करोड़ है. Again, the simple fact कि scale jitni jaldi, I mean from 1 to 10,000, that's a startup. If you have to think about opening brick and mortar and opening something, getting that customer through technology, that is what a startup is for me. As simple as that. Okay. And when I look at a startup, I believe in only one thing, that can they actually scale through their technology. is that technology scalable enough? Not just कि faff है कि भाई हर एक कोई एक ऐप बनाना जानता है आज के दिन में कि भैया मैंने वेबसाइट बना ली, ऐप बना ली. That does not cut it, my friends. ऐप और वेबसाइट की वैल्यू तभी है जब उसका एक्चुअल यूज केस हो. सिमिलरली पूरी ब्लॉकचेन इंडस्ट्री इसी पे बनी है. आप हर चीज़ को ब्लॉकचेन पे ले जा सकते हैं, बट उसका यूज केस क्या है? सो वेरी राइटली यू नीड टू फिगर आउट कि वट एवर योर ऐप, योर वेबसाइट, योर सर्विस, वट एवर यू आर डूइंग, इट हैज़ एन इनहेरेंट नीड. बहुत मार्केट में स्ट्रॉन्ग डिमांड है उसकी, एंड इतना अच्छा प्रोडक्ट आप बनाएंगे कि उस स्केल में प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी. तो देर आर, आई मीन ऑल ऑफ अस, आई कैन बेट ऑन दैट कि सब लोग यहाँ पे आपको फंड करने के लिए रेडी रहेंगे. As simple as that.
So scalability is what you look for.
Yes, first.
In the
Right team.
in the right team. Okay. Can they scale it? Can my money grow? In other words, what he's trying to say is, can my money, if I put in one right now, can I get 10, 20, 30 in the next 2, 3, 4 years? Right? Okay. Gaurav, what is your one thing that you don't want to miss out on when you're meeting a founding team or a founder or a startup?
See, generally, what we do is we do facilitation to a lot of VC funds. So now, what we have seen, what VC funds have been looking for is the first and foremost thing is the people. You know, a passionate founder is the first and foremost thing. Here, whenever, you know, I see a lot of startups, I had a word with a lot of startups, they're mostly pre-seed seed. At this moment of time, even a business plan created by them may not be a right business plan they are thinking about. I have seen startups talking about a B2C product, got the funding done. Once the funding was done, they were at pre-seed, they pivoted to B2B. The investors had no problem whatsoever because they believed in the people. They believed in the person. So that's first and foremost thing. Second, I'll give you...
No, one only.
नहीं एक छोटा सा है, मतलब एक छोटा सा. So one is an anecdote to all the startups here. What investor is looking for into you? Very, very, very simple. LinkedIn पे जितने मर्जी मैसेज डाल दो, जितनी मर्जी emails डाल दो, they'll not reply. What you need is a warm introduction. So what an investor is actually looking for is a warm introduction from one of their portfolio companies or one of their principals. If you have that, you have the funding. So that's the first and foremost and very important thing you need to have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prashant ji, I'll come to you last. All biases.
Thank you
there.
so much. I'm saved.
Haji.
So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity first, and talking about our thesis in FARD. So absolutely, by the name suggests, we look at FARD founders, to be very honest. So the team has to be amazing, crazily good. So we are a founder-driven organization. Idea jaisa bhi ho, I understand ideas can change. Agar founder se connect nahi banta, so we don't invest.
नहीं करते.
So we like humble founders. We don't like arrogant founders. So this has happened with most of the angel networks and funds, that founders are vouching upon that we have got this much commitment. If you want to come or not, please invest.
We stay away.
Exactly. So please
We
stay
stay
away.
away.
So we're looking at great
Attitude हम
founders.
नहीं चाहते.
बिल्कुल. हमें चाहिए founders जो
We have enough of that attitude in ourselves.
So हमें चाहिए founders जो अच्छे से connect कर पाए, and they're humble and they have passion and zeal to do something. And we spend a lot of time with the founders. Listening to the idea is important. What the idea of scalability technology, it matters. But we spend most of the time with the founders at least 1 to 2 months before we invest in them, so that we know them better. And because if they fail, it doesn't matter, because we'll invest in the founder once again and we'll back them up. So out of our 60 portfolios, 6 of our portfolios were pre-product. So almost 10% of the portfolio are pre-product. Why we invested in them? Because of the solid foundation and the founders. We believed in them, we believed in what they've achieved previously, and we spent time with them. And that's how we are backing them, and we intend to back a pre-product company as well. But again, if they have great people. So that's my bit.
Idea pitches, FARD is your guy. Okay. So Prashant ji, what would you say, that one thing that you don't want to miss out in that team that you'd like to fund?
So being the last one to speak, वो क्या होता है, पूरी लिस्ट बनाई होती है और एक एक करके टिक होते जाते हैं.
Last के ही बच्चे.
So
Candle style.
So one thing that is left in my list, and that is the topmost, is the clarity that the founder has. So if the founder is not able to articulate what problem they are solving, we are not interested. तो मैं अब जितना प्रोफेसर ध्रुवनाथ की तरह इंटरेस्टिंग तो नहीं बना सकता स्टोरी सुना के, बट एक शेर कह देता हूँ जो अभी लिखा है कि अगर वो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट को एक लाइन में कह लेगा, उसके फंडे क्लियर हैं, ये एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के सारे कष्ट सह लेगा. So I think clarity of thought is something which really drives the entire journey. If people are, I mean, most of the founders that we interact with, I mean, many these days are actually looking at starting the startup. अगर उनसे पूछते हैं कि क्यों, तो उनका ना वो बॉटम लाइन आ जाता है कि भाई फंडिंग, अल्टीमेटली कि फंड रेज करेंगे, वैल्यूएशन होगा, एंड if that is what is driving them, then we're really sorry. So that is what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we'll go the other way around. Next question to again to Gaurav.
क्वेश्चन पहले पूछ लेते तो इजी रहता आंसर.
नहीं वो नहीं ना, वो let that be an element of. So you are a CA also, you are a numbers guy and all. What is the one thing that will stop you from funding a?
See, one thing ideally which stops us from funding is if the product does not have a right market fit, and there is no market available for it to cater right now. So that's the first thing which people look at, that there should be a market to cater to. That's one. And then there should be a right product market fit. If there is no right product market fit, nobody gonna invest into your startup. So you may have like for example Sarthak said that there may be a startup in Web 3.0 deep tech which may have something in blockchain they're doing something in crypto, but the point is that use case right or not, whether that use case has been used abroad, whether that use case is gonna create a new market altogether. If that product market fit is there, they're gonna be investment. If that is not there, that's a complete no for anyone. And then again, founders I go for always. Founders are the first and foremost thing. If there is any arrogant founder, nobody gonna invest into it. So that's first and foremost thing.
Arrogance and lack of product market fit are a no. Sarthak, what is your one thing that वो दिख गया तो आप नहीं करोगे?
Lot of zeros in the Excel sheet. My God.
Yes.
आपने numbers मतलब 1 लाख करोड़ तो ऐसे लोगों के Excel sheet में होते हैं कि बस
वो पेटीएम का
at the seventh year our revenue will be 1,2,0,0,0,0,0 मतलब हमें थोड़ा टाइम लग जाता है कॉमा लगा के सोचने में कि how is this actually possible. It's so easy to just fudge an Excel sheet and show. And one thing, if you're into any industry, and even if you hold a single percentage market share, say 5%, your revenues, your numbers would be in millions already. So whenever some founder comes to me and you're saying it's the TAM or the target audience is $100 billion industry and we are looking to capture only 5% or only 10, that only word of 5 or 10, I mean there are a lot of businessmen out here, we are running, so getting a 5% of any multi-billion dollar industry or a multi-million dollar industry is almost next to impossible. You can only do that once your product is so beautifully built or your services or whatever you are doing has been liked by crores of people. So getting that fictional number out of your head that you can achieve these many zeros, or we are only targeting 10%. We only require 10% to be successful. You don't get to 10%. Even if you get 0.5% of any industry, you're a big shot. Every market in India is disoriented, fragmented, and there to be captured. And that's what technology is. तो कोई भी बोले, मतलब आप बड़े से बड़ी कंपनी का सोच लीजिए, आज पेटीएम है, फोन पे, अगर अब मैं यूपीआई की मार्केट की बात कर लूँ, उसमें भी देयर इज नो प्लेयर हु कैन एक्चुअली से कि वी आर अबव 40. जीप गूगल पे नहीं बोल सकता, पेटीएम नहीं बोल सकता, मोबीक्विक नहीं बोल सकता, यूपीआई अपना अलग है. एवरीबडी इज जस्ट वाइंग फॉर दैट मार्केट शेयर. and an industry leader can probably have 20 or 30%. And वो भी जब गवर्नमेंट रेगुलेटेड होते हैं, जैसे अगर ऑयल एंड गैस है जिसमें हम घुस नहीं सकते, रेलवेज है जिसमें घुस नहीं सकते, बट एनी कंज्यूमर ओरिएंटेड बिजनेस वेर एनी वन कैन एंटर. सो इफ यू हैव 4 or 5 or 1%, you're doing wonderfully well. You're like one of those unicorns which are about to be made. So for me, when I'm looking at, okay, the business model works, the team is good, everything is good, when you come to numbers, be very logical, my friends, that you don't need to achieve, you don't need to make a unicorn in your mind, you need to make a unicorn in reality. So just those numbers should actually make sense.
Okay. Mr. Naran?
So one thing that, I mean, drives us is integrity. I mean, in our interactions with founder, if we find ki, you know, whatever he's saying or she's saying, there is no congruence in what they are saying and the reality, even if it is as basic as, you know, they're giving an excuse for not attending a meeting, you know, they are giving a wrong excuse and we find the truth, we decide not to invest. तो यहाँ पे भी मैं एक शेयर कहूँगा, मेरा नहीं है, कृष्ण बिहारी नूर का है, कि सच बढ़े या घटे तो सच ना रहे, झूठ की तो कोई इंतहा ही नहीं. You know, so when the moment you say that, और ये किसी ने मुझे बोला था कि नॉर्थ इंडियंस के लिए स्पेसिफिकली, a person from obviously not North India, कि भाई हम लोगों को झूठ बोलने की इतनी आदत पड़ गई कि हमें पता ही नहीं है कि हम झूठ बोल रहे हैं. You know, so we are, it is like our natural self. But yes, I would say कि उस छोटे से झूठ से confidence, you know, if we are not confident about the founder, कि आज वो एक छोटा सा झूठ बोल रहा है, कल को बड़ा बोलेगा. And it happened in one case where this thing happened that the founder gave us a wrong excuse for not attending a meeting, a deep dive call. And actually he said that, you know, I need to take a license for operating in a COVID wave, while he was actually at that time presenting at another network. So we got the invite for that call. So we immediately dropped the call, and the founder called me. He said, "Ki sir, kya hua? Abhi to due diligence start bhi nahi hua hai." I said, "Some information that you have provided, you know, it was found incorrect." He said, "Sir, हाँ वो Excel sheet में थोड़ी गलती है. You know, I'll send you the right one." मैंने कहा, "Which Excel sheet are you talking about?" So it was obvious that, you know, there was more, वो क्या ना, झूठ की कोई इंतहा नहीं है. So this is what really drives our decision making, and we really catch these red flags more than the due diligence reports. I think it is in the conversation of the founders that it reflects that, you know, whether they hold integrity, you know, as the topmost virtue or not. Thank you.
This is for Karan now. Professor will obviously end the last.
No, I guess Prashad said very well. I agree. Basically, होता क्या generally, जितने भी startup founders हैं, so the main issue I feel right now in these days is the valuation terms. So all the points are correct, and I agree to it. Valuation terms are the also one big point, big concerning point to all the investors these days. So they come up with some crazy numbers, $50 million, $100 million. ये आया कहाँ से समझ नहीं आता. So I don't know what are the basis of valuations, but yes, the course correction is happening, as rightly said by my dear friend in the previous session. I guess ये जो problem है वो सही हो जाएगी, वो ठीक हो जाएगी. So all of us have made mistakes by investing in some crazy valuation or valued founder, but yes, we've learned the hard way, and yeah, this is a big no for us.
And last but not least,
I have till
now
6 o'clock. 6
now
o'clock.
your question is, which is the founder you will fund?
Okay.
आपने लास्ट टाइम किया था, आप ऐसे उसमें नहीं करते हो. अब आप क्या एक क्वालिटी है जो उसको देखकर आप कर
मनीष
देते हो?
हमेशा टेढ़े सवाल पूछता है. Okay, so the founder that we want to find, by the way, incidentally, this is my next book, which couple of you will get copies, is what we call the dream founder. The dream founder. Anyway, so, you know, I agree with everything that colleagues here have said. The most important is the founder, because, you know, at an early stage, you have no clue what direction the business will ultimately take. But if you have the right founder, he'll figure out a way to pivot and make it work. So I have another story here which Manish also knows, but he's probably forgotten. So this is the story of a very interesting company called Planet Spark. Okay, two very bright guys, and they said we will organize the private tuition business. So they had a lot of digital content. They had a nice room, mentor, laptops. Kids would come, they would learn, and they would play around with animation and so on, and it was working brilliantly. And they had, I think, about 60 centers in Gurgaon when we invested. We had invested in them. March 2020, all of you know what happened, lockdown. Now when there is a lockdown, every damn thing is closed. Schools are closed, therefore who the hell will go to a coaching center, right? So absolutely closed. The business went to zero. The good thing about these guys was we saw passion. There are founders who say, boss, mere ko paisa, I want valuation. No, we don't want that kind of founder. I have a passion, I want to do this, irrespective of what obstacles come my way, I will figure out a way to overcome them. So these guys said, okay, we have a lot of digital content. Since people can't come to the coaching center, we'll do it online. So the mentors are online, the content is all online, no problem. However, and this was English and maths. However, then who were they competing with? Baijo Ravindran, okay? Giant, Colossus. And there's no way in hell they can compete with him, right? Because they're a tiny player. So they said, okay, whatever it is, we will still look at children's education, children's skilling. So they kept pivoting, They tried multiple things in extracurricular stuff. They tried robotics, they tried programming, they tried dance, music, art, painting, etc., etc. Nothing worked, but these guys were passionate, didn't give up. They kept trying. I think the 7th or 8th pivot that they tried was public speaking for young children in school, right? Now suddenly that clicked, and you have to appreciate why. A parent obviously wants his or her child to do well in school and get good marks. Perfect. However, it's also important for the child to be able to face the world, to be able to speak in public, to be able to interact with people, to face an interview. Suddenly parents woke up and said, hang on, this does not exist anywhere. Chalo Planet Spark, right? So these guys really boomed. They really boomed. And today, Manish, I think you're an investor in Planet Spark? Yeah, which is why he's looking so happy. Their valuation today is about 75 times, 75x the valuation at which we put in money, and that was 4 years ago. However, I want to clarify, they were not chasing valuation. They were chasing a passion. And which is the reason why we invested in them. Valuation happens as a consequence.
Okay, so you got enough on the do's and don'ts. So if you have your thesis correct, you got the right you have the right, say, pointers. Idea stage, great founder, right in the center. Okay, someone who's not talking too many zeros. On your left side, my right side, or on the right side of the stage.
In the evening, normally Manish gets confused.
And you want, sir, right or wrong, aap nahi sikhaya hai, sir. Confuse honga hi. Okay, so, and you want great advice, you want brass tacks strategies. I mean, you need to be talking to Prof on that. And we are allowing 2 questions. So, 3 quick questions, but quick answers because this thing here. And the best answers could win a book as a prize.
Ab to boss dinner bhi organize ho gaya. What is your problem?
Any questions? Yeah. हाँ जी.
सर जिससे भी पूछा आपने वो गलत कहते हैं सर तो शेर सुनाई देंगे बट हाँ मैं कहूँगा जो भी लोग थे वो गलत कहते हैं पैसा इंसान पे ही लगता है क्योंकि अगर कल कल को इंसान फेल होता है, अगर इंसान की इंटेग्रिटी होती है तो उस पर फिर से पैसा लगाया जा सकता है. सो हम तो हमेशा पैसा इंसान पे लगाते हैं, चाहे मेरे पर्सपेक्टिव में, आपके पर्सपेक्टिव में मैं गलत हो सकता हूँ, बट आई गेस दिस इज आवर कोर फिलोसफी. वी विल इन्वेस्ट इन पीपल, दैट्स ऑल. Ideas can change, ideas will pivot, like Professor Sir has mentioned multiple stories. Ideas change होंगे, but पैसा इंसान पे लगेगा, human पे लगेगा, it's human capital. सर शेर, अब सर का शेर आएगा.
गाड़ी कितनी भी अच्छी हो, ड्राइवर ही चलाता है, फाउंडर पर ही पैसा लगता है, गाड़ी पर नहीं लगता है.
One very live example of this is Kunal Shah. Kunal Shah is one of the great example for this. Freecharge was a great startup for a very long period of time and then pivoted back to really low. And then came Cred. He got around 30 million or 40 million dollars of valuation even when he had just rolled out a company, not even the idea. So even the prototype was not ready, MVP was not ready, and he got the funding. So Kunal Shah is one live example of people investing in people.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Just
Just one. इरशाद हुसैन मेरे दोस्त का नाम. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. To whom? To whom? To Prashant. Okay.
So again, मैं यहाँ पे हो जाऊँगा
Sir,
ढेर.
सीता
No
सीता.
more share, please. So, the again the focus is that so the conversation has actually changed in the last few months. Earlier, everyone was talking about fast growth, but now people have started talking about growth with profitability, with sustainability. So mindless growth with no sustainable business model, you can take it up to millions of users and billions of users maybe. But if the business will not become profitable or sustainable, there will be a point that when it will go bust. So maybe by then billions of dollars would have been spent. So why this change has come in? Because the entire world. So I would say this is a sign of maturity in the industry, where even the investors have understood, and now the founders also understand that till the time your business, maybe it will take 5 years to 10 years, not 3 years, but eventually this business will start making money. So what is a startup? It is a business only. A business cannot be something that you're doing which is constantly consuming cash. I mean, if you join a job, you're doing it for earning money. You're starting a business, ultimately it is for earning money only. Any business which cannot generate, I would say I'm really passionate about cash flows, and I always say that the business that cannot generate positive cash flows will end soon. This I used to do before I started investing in startups. But then at that time when I used to talk about this concept, though no one could relate to it. Eventually I would say that the entire world is talking about that now, that you need to have positive cash flows after a certain point. till that point, if you have negative cash flows, that can be funded. Now, so the path to profitability, as they say, it's something which is very, very critical. Now, it can be the zeros in the Excel sheet, but if they are mindless, projections that you will achieve these numbers. I mean, I remember one founder came to me and he said, in my first year, my gross revenue would be 1300 crores. And I was like, really? So I said, okay, let's look at your Excel sheet, because he came through a reference, I gave him that kind of time. Finally we came down to 13 crores. And I said, this also is very high. Your assumptions are wrong. If you do 1 crore also, no, I'll be surprised. But then, I mean, it has been 2 years. It is still not launched. So, you need to have a clear path. Maybe you miss it by 2 years, but at least you have a direction to go into. So, unit economics has to be positive. You need to have a plan that where your CAC would come down over the years, how it would come down. If you do not have any vision on that, eventually, if you are thinking that only by pumping in money you will reach a certain scale, then I would say in today's time, investors are really wary of putting money in with those founders who do not have that clear vision. So that is what I can say, and that is why they are asking you these questions.
Manish, I'll just add something to this. He mentioned the unit economics. See, at an early stage, we as investors realize that in most cases you will not be profitable, and that's acceptable, not a problem. Funding is available, not an issue. For early stage startups, let me clarify, there is no funding winter. However, what is very important is we don't expect you to be profitable, but like he rightly said, unit economics, gross margin. So essentially, if you're selling pens, very simple, right? If you're selling a pen for 50 and you're making it for 60, you will never make money. The more pens you spend, the more you will lose, right? But if you're selling it for 50 and you're making it for 30, on each pen you're making 20 bucks, right? If you sell a large enough number of pens, you will overcome the overheads of the business, which is things like marketing, salaries, rent, etc., 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 right? So what investors look for very, very importantly, in fact, even before making an investment in a company, more than revenues, we look at gross margins, which is, are you making money on the variable cost incurred in making and selling this product? If yes, and if you're growing, at some stage you'll become profitable. So focus on gross margin. That's thing which we.
And that should ideally be higher than 60%, ideally 70% plus for B2C, D2C kind of segments. Okay, and so there's just one say definition that is there, which I think all of you will agree with me. I'm like I had worked on it some time back. So this is a startup is a temporary organization in search of a repeatable, scalable, सस्टेनेबल बिजनेस मॉडल, जहां पर आपके इन्वेस्टर को लगेगा ये तीन एलिमेंट नहीं दिख रहे हैं या आप वो चीज नहीं ढूंढ रहे हैं इन तीनों चीजों को साथ में, तो वो आपसे ही विल टेक अ स्टेप बैक. So you need all 3 points. You need it to be scalable, you need it to be repeatable, and sustainability talks about the unit economics, margins and everything. Okay, so the prizes go to.
Can I just also add that, as they've rightly pointed out, that nobody is looking at profitability in the beginning. मैंने जैसे सब scale देख रहे हैं कि profitability at eventually 5 years, 7 or even 10 years. Even traditional businesses, Reliance, Adani, they have lakhs of crores of debt. 2 lakh crore, इतना debt है. But their cash flows are good. They are profitable. In the same way, if an investor has given you $10 billion, जो मिले हुए हैं कुछ startups को, what is eventually they're looking at कि आपने market इतनी capture करी हुई है, या for example 90% of the food delivery is Zomato and Swiggy, only 2 players, कोई तीसरा भी enter नहीं कर सकता, या Amazon, Flipkart, या Ola, Uber, या you would see that when you say that there will be people to keep on giving you money because you control 40-50% of the whole market. If the market is say $100 billion, अगर आप ही 40% compare कर रहे हो, then also you're not profitable, which is the case for almost all the startups today. You know, whatever names that I have taken, yes, कोई भी profitable नहीं है. But since they command, they've created a new technology, they've created a new market, जो शायद exist नहीं करती थी. ना डिलीवरी लॉजिस्टिक्स थे ऐसे थ्रू ओला उबर या फूड डिलीवरी थी या एफएमसीजी में बिग बास्केट जेप्टो दे आर ऑल competing to get that much market share and they're putting in money, they're making losses, they are still not profitable, but at least they're capturing more and more of the market. So they'll give you time for that. All investors will give you time for that, they'll give you more money for that, but they need to see that you are making a dent either in the operating gross margin or the operating margin or in the market share. I mean, that's just my philosophy. If I that either you're gaining that market share, it जैसे Spotify करता है, it's still not profitable even after 13 years, but they control even 45% of the music market abroad, which is huge. So anything that you can control out of these two factors.
So just last thing, one last question. Yeah, please. So that we can choose, you know, दो जनों को देनी है किताबें. हाँ जी. Focus right now. It's funding winters. Your bootstrap, stay that way. You'll dilute too much equity. Focused only.
See, a lot depends on what your business is, but in general, the advice is focus. You know, building a brand in a local market is far easier than building a brand pan India because the amount you have to spend, all that will be spread across so many potential customers. Focus on building a brand in one area, gradually expand. Retail sector. So then it has to be local. There's no choice. Has to be local, move to other towns gradually in the vicinity. Boss, वो दूर की बात है. See, if today you have one outlet in Lucknow, you have one outlet in Tamil Nadu, one outlet in Hubli, वो नहीं चल सकता है. Focus, if you have one good outlet in Lucknow, customers are happy, open one more outlet some distance away within Lucknow. Once you have many outlets, then gradually expand to maybe a city near Lucknow, maybe Kanpur, right? That's probably the way to go. Don't suddenly go all India. Very difficult.
Yeah, so one more very live example is the milk basket which started off in Gurgaon and got $1 million funding just based out of Gurgaon only. So if you want to start a startup, Gurgaon is the testing place. Test it here. If it passes here, it will pass everywhere. Don't worry.
We would have to rest it here, ma'am. Thank you so much. I know this is such a wonderful, fruitful session we have here, but the time is pressing and we need to.
No questions. मनीष जो है वो किस लेवल से उठकर आए? सर वो स्टार्टअप ही बन गए. किस लेवल से उठकर आए वो ये देखो. आप देखो ना जियो का जो गेम था उससे हिम्मत से आगे बढ़े. If you see जियो का जो गेम था वो एकदम स्टार्टअप वाली स्ट्रेटजी है. कम टू द मार्केट उसी जीरो से ही तो इतना आगे बढ़ गए ना वहाँ पे. वो सिर्फ अपनी हिम्मत से और अपनी मेहनत से आगे बढ़े.
Okay, I suggest that, sir, please meet the gentleman of the state so that your questions can be answered in detail, so that we have time for other panel speakers as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It is such a knowledge-centric and a wonderful session we have.
Can we have the lady over here? And
So
can
two
we have
books, yes,
वो
of course.
शेर जिन्होंने सुनाई थी चक्की पी सिंह.
Let's hear it for them, ladies and gentlemen. A huge round of applause here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. So I request Mr. Kulpreet Ahuja to kindly please join us on the stage and felicitate this wonderful panel here, right here with us. Ankur, please join us. Mr. Manish Johri, ladies and gentlemen, a great moderator who has done a wonderful job with the panel. Let the applaud keep rolling, please. Mr. Manish Johri. So these gorgeous gift hampers are sponsored by We John Group, Khatta Meetha Desires, Natura Leaf, Americana Biscuits, and Core and Pure are gifting sponsors. Let's hear it for them. Mr. Sarthak Bakshi. C.A. Gaurav. Mr. Karan Verma. तालियां बजती रहनी चाहिए. Mr. Prashant Narang. So let's give it to Professor Dhruv Nath, please. Professor Dhruv Nath, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Prashant Narang. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this wonderful insight that you've given us on this summit. Thank you.